All right, good morning, and we're live. Just a reminder to make sure your mics are muted and your camera is off at this time. Good morning to those that are watching via YouTube. Just wanted to let you all know we'll start a little bit before 9 o'clock, and everything will begin totally at 9. So continue watching. There's no sound playing yet, and we're eager to start very soon. Good morning and welcome again to the North Carolina Beginning Teacher Summit 2021. My name is Rhonda Holmes. I'm eager to start this session with you. We have a wonderful 2 days planned for you, and we're glad that you can join us this morning. To start, we are going to welcome you again and let you know that Kathy Oliver and myself, Rhonda Holmes, are running the logistics during the summit. We're just making sure that everything goes really smooth, and we're here with the rest of our teammates that are here to assist you as well. So thank you again.
I began my career not as a teacher, but as an intelligence officer in the Air Force. So I think that that model is pretty legit for how clouds really look, right? I'm kind of the Miss Frizzle of the high school classroom because I just love to teach and I love to find cool ways for my kids to learn. But I also love to dive down deep into what they understand and find the places where they need some help. Yeah, so just come in and see me tomorrow morning and I'll help you out with that, okay? Every single kid in my classroom has the potential to be a rocket scientist. It's my responsibility to figure out how to get them there. When you have your AB blood and you add A and you add B, see what happens. Each one of my students is unique. Each one of my students is different. Each one of my students needs something a little bit different from me every day. I'm a firm believer that a growth mindset in classrooms is a very, very important thing to help our students truly be able to grow and maximize their potential. Growth mindset does not just refer to your students, it also refers to you. I spend quite a bit of time outside of school doing to try to make sure I have maximized everything I can possibly do to help every single one of my students be the absolute best that they can be when they leave my classroom. I began my career not as a teacher, but as an intelligence officer in the Air Force. So I think that that model is pretty legit for how clouds really look, right? I'm kind of the Miss Frizzle of the high school classroom because I just love to teach and I love to find cool ways for my kids to learn. But I also love to dive down deep into what they understand and find the places where they need some help. Yeah, so just come in and see me tomorrow morning and I'll help you out with that, okay? Every single kid in my classroom has the potential to be a rocket scientist. It's my responsibility to figure out how to get them there. When you have your AB blood and you add A and you add B, see what happens. Each one of my students is unique. Each one of my students is different. Each one of my students needs something a little bit different from me every day. I'm a firm believer that a growth mindset in classrooms is a very, very important thing to help our students truly be able to grow and maximize their potential. Growth mindset does not just refer to your students, it also refers to you. I spend quite a bit of time outside of school doing to try to make sure I have maximized everything I can possibly do to help every single one of my students be the absolute best that they can be when they leave my classroom. I began my career not as a teacher, but as an intelligence officer in the Air Force. So I think that that model is pretty legit for how clouds really look, right? I'm kind of the Miss Frizzle of the high school classroom because I just love to teach and I love to find cool ways for my kids to learn. But I also love to dive down deep into what they understand and find the places where they need some help. Yeah, so just come in and see me tomorrow morning and I'll help you out with that, okay? Every single kid in my classroom has the potential to be a rocket scientist. It's my responsibility to figure out how to get them there. When you have your AB blood and you add A and you add B, see what happens. Each one of my students is unique. Each one of my students is different. Each one of my students needs something a little bit different from me every day. I'm a firm believer that a growth mindset in classrooms is a very, very important thing to help our students truly be able to grow and maximize their potential. Growth mindset does not just refer to your students, it also refers to you. I spend quite a bit of time outside of school doing to try to make sure I have maximized everything I can possibly do to help every single one of my students be the absolute best that they can be when they leave my classroom.
Good morning. Maureen Stover is the 2020 Burroughs Wellcome Fund North Carolina Teacher of the Year. Prior to her position as the NC Toy, she taught 9th and 10th grade biology, earth science, environmental science, and advanced placement via individual determination, or AVID, at Cumberland International Early College High School in Fayetteville, North Carolina. She has taught at the elementary, middle, and high school levels and worked as an educational consultant for the National Science Teaching Association. She has earned a Bachelor of Science in Biology from the United States Air Force Academy, class of 1997, a Master of Arts in Education in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, which is STEM, Curriculum and Instruction, from Adams State University in Colorado, a Master of Arts in Teaching and Secondary Science from Western Governors University, North Carolina, and a Leadership Certificate in STEM Education from Teachers College, Columbia University. As an educator, Maureen Stover is dedicated to improving educational opportunities for every student through equitable education initiatives. She seeks to provide clear pathways for students to successfully enter the career or college program of their choice upon graduation from high school. Before she was a teacher, Maureen Stover served as an intelligence officer in the United States Air Force. In this role, she served as a flight commander, watch officer, and executive officer. Her military experience includes directing indications and warnings for 1,000 flights over Iraq, including 25 combat strike missions with 0 combat losses. She was lauded by her commander as critical to the U.S. Air Force's war on terrorism. Thank you for spending time with us today, Maureen. Welcome.
Just having a few technical difficulties, as I'm sure as educators you have seen before. So we're just giving Maureen a little grace. So just hang with us just a few more moments.
In the meantime, while we're experiencing these technical difficulties and trying to make sure that Maureen can join us, she has joined us. We're just trying to make sure she can be heard. I encourage you to look through the session catalog so you will know which sessions you would like to attend today. So take a few moments to peruse the catalog and select your sessions for today.
And as we're waiting, I can actually show you a visual. So when you visit the bit.ly link, bit.ly/NCBTS21, it will bring you to the 2021 Virtual North Carolina Beginning Teacher Summit page on our REF website. And of course, you can access the session links by clicking on it. Many of you are joining us via YouTube. So you join using this first link, but for your breakout sessions this morning between 9:15 and 11:45, you would click on these links that the next any of the links that say breakout sessions will take you to our playlist. You can also access the playlist or the breakout sessions via each one of the descriptions that you see for the sessions by visiting each one of the tabs that's related to your grade level span. If you click here on breakout sessions, you will go to the YouTube channel. And under the YouTube channel, you'll see sessions, again, aligned for grade level span. So you can click on those sessions. I recommend clicking on view full playlist. And when you get to view the playlist, you can see the sessions listed here that relate to your grade level. A second way of accessing is, of course, going to the descriptions that are provided here in the agenda and reading those. We also have in this description tab a key that allows you to know what these acronyms stand for, because educators, we love acronyms. But these will help you figure out which sessions pertain to subject areas that are high interest to you. So we really wanted to make sure that you get everything you can get out of the summit and access it. Of course, if you stay here on these tabs and you enjoy the description, or you want to check out that focus topic, you can directly join that video by clicking that video, and it will take you directly there. You can come on. You can come on in. You have on the phone. All right. So as usual, technology always comes through. We have Maureen here on the phone, so we're going to try to see if you all can hear her. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, and I hope you all can hear me. First of all, I'd like to apologize for things being a little bit late this morning. We're running into some technology issues. And so just like many of you, I'm sure in your first couple of days of teaching and this entire year have run into some technology issues as you try to navigate and use different web tools and try to get things going for meetings. Unfortunately, we're running into an issue where for some reason my email address is not being accepted by WebEx. I tried to log in using my teacher via email, wouldn't let me in. Try logging in using my school email, it won't let me in. And so we're going with plan B, and there's always a good plan B. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about during the presentation today is how, as teachers, sometimes things don't go as planned. And that part of your job as a teacher is to really try to find a way to navigate around that and try to figure out how to turn that challenge into a success. That's what we're doing today. So while I wish I was able to get onto the web link and see all of you guys and see your wonderful faces and hear all the different things you're doing in the chat and see all that going on, unfortunately, I'll be joining you by phone. But I do really look forward to having a chance to meet you at some point during our visits around to schools. And so thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. As the 2020 Burroughs Wellcome Fund North Carolina Teacher of the Year and a 2021 National Teacher of the Year finalist, it is my honor to talk to you today about becoming a teacher leader during your first few years in the classroom. I know that as teachers, we should not have favorites, but I must admit that my favorite speaking engagements are when I have an opportunity to talk with beginning teachers. As beginning teachers, you represent so much of the positive and the good in our profession. I'm always inspired by the enthusiasm, ingenuity, and passion of our new teachers. You have chosen the most rewarding career you could possibly imagine. You are the future of education. You are always demonstrating leadership through your extraordinary achievements in your classrooms, and you are an important member of our educator team. I am so excited for you as you begin your career. And in many ways, I wish I could switch places with you and go back through my career again. This morning, it is my honor to speak with you about some of the ways that you can continue your leadership and seize opportunities to engage as a teacher leader to become an advocate for your student success during your early years in the classroom. And if you could forward to the next slide, please.
Gotcha.
Have you ever been creating a new password and one of the security questions you can choose from is the name of your favorite teacher? I'd like everyone to take a second to think of your favorite teacher. Now, what is it about that teacher that made him or her stand out in your mind? Was it their amazing ability to grade, to write assessments, or to start class and deliver instruction without making any personal connections with you or your classmates? My guess is probably not. The teacher who you thought of probably made learning fun, connected with you in a genuine way, or made you feel special by highlighting your unique traits and talents. One of the reasons why the favorite teacher question is used as a password prompt is because teachers have an impact on the students we teach. While you may not remember every teacher from your pre-K-12 experience, there are probably one or two educators who you will remember because they were a great teacher. If you think back to that teacher, you will probably realize that what made them great was their ability to connect with you so that you could thrive in their classroom. Yuri von Fenbrenner said, every child needs at least one adult who is irrationally crazy about him or her. When you think of that teacher who is irrationally crazy about you and inspired you to be the best version of yourself, you'll probably realize that what they embodied several of the traits on the list of my teacher leader characteristics. As we talk about how you can become a teacher leader, I want you to reflect back on this list to think about the ways that you can embed passion and purpose into your teaching practice. How can you develop authentic relationships with your students that encourage their success? How can you be a problem solver by changing perceived failures into opportunities for solution? And how can you contribute to your school's team to create a culture of success for every student enrolled in your program? Next slide, please. As teachers, we are so much more to our students than just imparters of knowledge. Delivering instruction is an important part of our job, but being a teacher is really more of a calling than a job. As teachers, we are part nurse, part counselor, part cheerleader, and part whatever else our kids need us to be that day. It takes a special person to be a teacher because teachers are the people who are called to care for, nurture, and educate our children. I did not start my professional life as a teacher, but rather as an intelligence officer. If you would have asked me in high school if I would ever be a teacher, I would have told you no. But when my oldest son was in kindergarten, his teacher needed parents to help with reading groups, and I was excited to volunteer. After my first few times working with the reading groups, I was hooked. I loved working with the kids. I loved seeing their excitement when they got a question right or when they could sound out a word that the day or week before they could not read. It was amazing, and I knew that I had found not only my next career, but my true calling. John Maxwell coined the phrase, students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. In this quote, Maxwell is referring to the importance of relationships you form with your students. The key to thriving and connecting in your classroom is forming genuine relationships with your kids. As a teacher, you will become a trusted adult for many of the kids you teach. Your position as a teacher provides you with the opportunity to interact with kids every day. You have two choices in these interactions. You can either be a positive influence or you can be a negative influence on your kids. My advice is to be the positive influence. Next slide, please. As a teacher, I take a humanistic approach to teaching. I plan lessons that are motivating, meaningful, and relevant. I analyze data, and I use preferred learning inventories to design personalized lessons that are tailored to each of my students' unique learning needs. Many would argue that this is what makes me a good teacher. Next slide, please. I will tell you that while this makes me good at delivering instruction, it is not why I am a good teacher. I am a good teacher because my kids are my everything. In Japanese culture, there is a concept called ikiga. Directly translated into English, ikiga means life's purpose, but it is so much more than just these two words. Ikiga is the thing that makes you excited when you wake up in the morning. It's the thing that you are motivated to tackle each day. It is part of your soul and part of your being. For me, my ikiga is my kids and teaching. Next slide, please. I make sure that my kids know that they are my ikiga by intentionally designing my teaching practice to place them at the center of everything that I do. My classroom is a space where students know that they can come and where their ideas are valued and respected. My classroom is colorful and decorated with students' artwork and projects because I want them to know that I appreciate their talent and that the products they make deserve to be highlighted. While these practices lay the groundwork for my ability to connect with my kids so they can thrive in my classroom, the real connection comes through forming genuine relationships with my students. My students are assigned to me for 90 minutes a day, but they are my kids 24 hours a day. I talk to them about things outside of school. I help them when they are struggling in my class or another class. I go to their football games, softball games, band concerts, plays, and speech and debate tournaments. I am always there in their corner. I am always there to cheer them on. I am always an advocate who is on their side to help them face the challenges that they will go through during their teenage years. It is through these intentional practices that I can connect with my kids and be an adult who they know they can trust and who will always be there to support them. Many times when I talk to beginning and veteran teachers about forming authentic relationships with their students, they will tell me about a kid who is so bad that they cannot reach them. Now, when I use that word bad, imagine seeing me using air quotes, because there is no such thing as a bad kid. There are only kids who have had bad experiences. I will admit that it can sometimes be challenging to form relationships with our students. Many of the students in our classrooms today have had one or more negative experiences with the teacher, and many times their parents also had negative experiences in school. This can make them apprehensive to invite a teacher into their world. They may distrust teachers or think that a teacher will turn on them if they open up and share their vulnerabilities. In my 13 years in education, I have realized that when kids act out, there is normally something going on that is overwhelming them or upsetting them, and their way of dealing with that is to act out. Many times when you have a student who is dealing with outside pressures or stressors, you can talk with that student, and notice I said talk with the student, not to the student, and resolve the issue in your classroom. There are definitely times when you will need an administrator, but there are also times when you can deal with a behavioral issue in your room by talking with the student in a respectful way that lets the student know that you genuinely care about them and that you want to help them navigate the challenge that is causing them to act out. When you engage in this dialogue with your students, you are showing them that you care about them and that you are their champion. You do not want your students to see you as a pushover who allows them to get away with bad behavior, but you do want your students to know that you are their advocate and that you genuinely care about them as a person and as a student. These are the kids who need you the most. These are the kids who need to know that they come from greatness, that they are worthy, that they are smart, and that they are talented. When you have that kid who pushes back, continue to support them, continue to love them, continue to be their champion. They may not ever show it or tell you, but by continuing to be an adult who is their advocate, you are a champion who is standing in their corner and you are having a positive influence on their lives. My passion is my kids. My purpose is helping my kids develop socially, emotionally, and academically. By infusing this passion and purpose into my teaching practice, I become an advocate for my students and their success. Next slide, please. Part of forming relationships is letting your students know that you are a real person. When you make a mistake, own it. I'm always shocked when kids are surprised that I admit when I've made a mistake. They are surprised because so many other teachers gloss over a mistake or deny that a mistake was made. By admitting mistakes to your students, you are modeling a growth mindset and showing them that mistakes are an important part of the learning process. You are also letting your students know that you trust and respect them enough to admit when you did something incorrectly. This is incredibly important in your ability to form genuine relationships with your kids. If your kids think that you are perfect and you expect perfection, they may be intimidated to come to you when they need help. By showing them that you are not perfect, you are fostering an environment where kids are more comfortable coming to you when they are struggling with something. I could give you many examples of times when things did not go to plan in my classroom. But one example I'd like to share with you today was a climate change lab I did with my 9th grade Earth and Environmental Science class. The kids and I were so excited about this lab, during which they would model climate change and manipulate a variable to see how it affected their results. We spent days planning the variable they would change. And the kids were so excited as I started bringing in Alka-Seltzer and vinegar and coffee and baking soda and all the other things that they wanted to try. And then we started the lab. The first problem we had was that when we put the thermometers in the cups, it became top heavy and tipped over. We even had one cup that fell on the floor and shattered the thermometer. Since we were conducting this experiment at the end of February, the ambient air temperature in our classroom was affected by the heating system. The light bulbs and the heat lamps were not generating enough light energy to see a substantial difference between the temperature at time 0 and the temperature after 15 minutes. Instead of seeing this as a failure and stopping the activity, I instead used this as an opportunity to model a growth mindset and shift the lesson from a failure to an opportunity to improve. First, I changed the amount of time the container remained under the heat lamp from 15 minutes to 30 minutes to allow for more time to see a change. Because students now had more free time, I incorporated a carbon footprint web-based activity to help students understand how human activities affect the levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. Students engaged to redesign the lab to be more effective. After the cups began to tip, some students searched through our supply closet and found containers with a larger base that were more stable than the cups. Other students used tape to secure the cups to the lab tables. The students also researched options for more robust light bulbs that would generate more heat energy. During this lesson, I had a pre-service teacher in my classroom observing the lab. I think it was valuable for her to see a lesson that did not go as planned because it provided an opportunity for us to discuss how you can recover a lesson while you are teaching, to ensure students are still learning and meeting the desired learning objective. Many times when we have a pre-service teacher observing and cooperating our mentor teacher, we plan a lesson that we know will flow well. Unfortunately, this can set up unrealistic expectations for a pre-service teacher who may now think that every lesson should be perfect. By observing a lesson where things did not go exactly to plan, my pre-service teacher was able to see how I modified and adapted the lesson so students were still able to achieve the desired learning objective. I also used the lab as an opportunity to demonstrate how teachers use reflection to improve our teaching practice. Next slide, please. Real teaching rarely goes exactly as planned. It may look to an outside observer like our classrooms are running like the picture on the top, a steady and easy climb to the finish. In reality, teaching is more like the picture on the bottom. We are constantly dealing with challenges. It's all about how you navigate those challenges. And each each of those valleys, teachers are learning new skills to add to our toolboxes so we can use them in the future. Good teaching is not about being perfect, but it is about being committed to improving. We want our kids to develop a growth mindset, and we must remember that as teachers, we should also have a growth mindset. This is where you can become an opportunity seeker and a problem solver. You will run into challenges as a teacher. What defines you is how you handle those challenges. Next slide, please. As an advocate for your students, you will have an opportunity to influence your school's culture to promote success. It truly does take a team to support our students. When each of our stakeholders, including administrators, teachers, support staff, and parents, actively foster a culture of success in our schools, it becomes infectious. When our stakeholders believe in our students believe in themselves. And this is when the magic can happen. As a teacher, you will have an opportunity to engage with your colleagues and fellow stakeholders in many different venues. Whether you are in a staff meeting, a school improvement team meeting, a data meeting, or engaging in a conversation in the hallway or during lunch, always be an advocate for your kids. Always be a champion for your student success. Every single child in your classroom can learn. Every single child can leave our pre-K-12 system college or career ready and empowered to live their best life because of the education they received in our public schools. It is our job as teachers to figure out how to best teach every single child so they can reach that self-actualization. Next slide, please. As a tech native, you will also have an opportunity to be a leader as we transition to more digital learning platforms. I grew up in a world where the typewriter on the left was the greatest tech. And if you had a typewriter that had whiteout tape in the machine, everyone wanted to borrow your typewriter to write their papers. As a side note, I did not have autocorrection tape, so whiteout became my best friend. You have grown up in a digital world with information at your fingertips. And this has enabled you to develop a robust set of skills that many teachers in my generation struggle to acquire. Use those skills to help your colleagues. You can show us apps and websites and tech tips and tricks that are not intuitive to us. Use your skills to emerge as a leader. Next slide, please. There is no magic formula to cultivate a classroom where students can thrive and connect. However, when teachers prioritize forming genuine relationships with their students, it creates a classroom culture where students feel safe and valued. As teachers, we have an opportunity to positively impact every young heart and mind that we touch. To do this, we must embed intentional practices into our teaching that promote relationship building. In order for our kids to thrive in our classrooms, it takes a team of stakeholders, including administrators, teachers, support staff, and parents to support our students in their learning and in their social and emotional development. As a teacher, you will be a key part of this team. You will have direct contact with your kids every day. You will be able to have a positive influence and have a positive impact on the kids that you teach. You will be an adult who is irrationally crazy about a kid who has no one else. Embrace that role and embrace your calling to cultivate a classroom environment where students thrive and connect and where you emerge as a teacher leader and your students advocate. Next slide, please. As I leave you today, I want to give you one last piece of advice that my mentor teacher gave me during my first year of teaching. She said the goal is not to be a better teacher than anyone else. The goal is to be a better teacher than you ever thought you could be. You have done the work. You are a beginning teacher, and you are ready to take charge in your classroom and be a teacher that will have a positive impact on the children you teach. I am incredibly proud of you and so excited as you are entering into an extraordinary and dynamic career field of education. I wish you a long, successful, and fun career, and I look forward to seeing and hearing about all of your successes as an educator. Next slide, please. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer them. I've also put up my contact information. Please feel free to reach out at any time if I can help you with anything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maureen. Once again, you have worked to adapt and overcome. Your flexibility and your positivity are such amazing traits and certainly contribute to the leader that you are. Thank you for being such an inspiration to educators, and thank you for spending time with us today. Thanks so much. Everyone, please remember to select your sessions throughout the day from our catalog of recorded sessions. Please be sure to join us again at 11:45 a.m. this morning for our Lunch and Learn live session, which is a discussion of current issues and topics with our Beginning Teacher of the Year panel. Thank you so much.